Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast.
The podcast of Kngoc.
It's
Tien. and today we're gonna discuss the book Brave New World.
So it's a mention about the Brave New World books. Our theme, our prompt would be, what social stability is worth the price?
Yes.
And
And for me, in my opinion, I don't think that social stability is worth the price, because I think that our world and the fourth world, the world center, is different. It's similar in a lot of ways.
In some ways,
yes.
yeah.
But the difference is that the people in our world, we at least have the right. We at least have the power to change our fate. And the individual in the fourth world, they absolutely have no choice but to obey whatever role they were given since birth. And what do I mean by that is, I think the individuals in that world, they don't have the right to refuse to anything. Because, for example, the fourth world really value stability, right? And one of the things that ensures stability for them was everyone belongs to everyone else. So that means, and the consumption of soma. So that means that any individual who is against having multiple sexual partners and taking soma would be viewed as rebel, and they would have some consequences for that. And in the book, there's the example of Bernard. He was hesitant about taking soma and have sex with Lenina, and as a result, he was reported to the world control to the director, and then he was expelled. He was asked to expel.
For your information, the directors was proposed an idea to deport Bernard to Iceland, which is a nice country. We love Iceland.
But apparently they don't love it there. I shall ask you for your reference to preferably Ireland, and that is something that nobody wants in that world. But however, just because of something that Bernard feels, just because of a little hesitance, he is immediately being resorted to such an extreme solution.
I think Bernard was like similar to our societies right now, even though he's the odd one out in the world states. But for us, we also being conditioned as a whole societies just to fit in, to fill in the blank of where we born and we raised in an environment where there are expectations from societies to get a job, to have a good life, to get a partner, and to live happily forever, to own properties, right? We are conditioned to, we under conditioned to. But for the punishment, our world are we having people with poverties coming from multiple diverse backgrounds, and we are suffering here. There's nothing to control. For their world, they have soma, they have stabilities. There's no homeless. There's no homelessness, no poverties. Everyone have a good job. They're happy with their life, right?
I think that's a great idea that you mentioned that, because I also have something to talk about that and about the violence and about the poverty part. So first I want to start off that, well, yes, our world is conditioned, I believe. We have a lot of conditioning going on. Yes, based on who our parents are, our race are, what social economic class we are in. We have a lot of conditioning going on. However, there's something that I like about our world is that at least we have the ability to consent, to having structure or not. Because in that world, as in page 178, I think said Lenina suddenly breaking a long silence, I better take a couple grams of soma. So that means that what the context of this, Lenina is with the songster, and it's not out of her consent that she wants to be there, because earlier he asked her to go along with him, and it's implying that they're gonna have sex, but Lenina doesn't really willing to give the consent. However, she has to do so because in that world they're conditioned to everyone belongs to everyone else, and she doesn't have to refuse, and he has the right to refuse in here. And also, Songster is the one in power. So I feel like in that world they don't really have the right to give consent or not. They have to really behave how society was conditioning them to. Yes. And also about you said that like our world we are suffering, right? And
we suffer.
At least in there they don't. But however, I think that there are a certain part of the book that kind of like shows that world is not so good either, because it's not true that world is totally happy. They do have violence. They do have poverty going on. They do have like unsanitary.
The reservation, right?
Yeah, the reservation.
Discrimination, yeah.
Yeah, because like on page 122, how can you keep things clean when there isn't hot water laid on? So this is from Linda. She was telling to Lenina and Bernard that like they don't have hot water there. And then later when Lenina and Bernard was walking towards another place, on page 112, a dead dog was lying on the rubbish heap. A woman with a gourd was looking for life in the hair of a small girl. So I believe that like, yes, that world at the society, at the fourth society, there it maybe is happiness. However, it's not the world is all happy, because the minority outside that land, they are facing a lot of problems of violence, of lack of cleanliness. They are lacking hot water. They're lacking a lot of things.
So it's basically outside the world states, people are they are under that conditions, under that environment. When we look at our societies, as we currently in the US right now,
yes,
there are a lot of countries, a lot of outside of our borders in the world. We come together as a United Nation. We have our plans, our goals. I think I'll edit it somewhere here, or maybe the full screen. But
okay.
The point is, as our societies, we work towards a future for sustainable goals, which include no poverties, better education, gender equalities, and much more than it's just those mentions. But when it comes to our societies, to their societies, social stability doesn't go with happiness. So do you have any ideas about, do you have any opinions for your perspective of happiness for the world states and our societies?
I think happiness is really, it really depends on each person. Because for example, for Helmholtz, happiness for him is that he wants more knowledge.
Yeah.
Because as we know, he wants to like
he's a creative innovation individual.
He feels like his ability of writing can be of use for something more than just writing propaganda. But when he tries to figure it out or like explore that part of himself, he is reported to the principal. And he said that he said after a long silence, as though I was just beginning to have something to write about, as though I were beginning to able to use that power I feel I've got inside of me. So I feel like, here we can see that like, because of the way that the fourth world is, they literally condition everyone to think happiness is one thing, which is, what is that? They have soma. They don't age. They don't age. They have different sexual partners. They have a lot of entertainment going on.
The point is there's no disease.
Yes, they are happy with their job too.
Exactly.
But there's a lot of individuals who are not happy with that. Like for example, Helmholtz that we see here is like literally an example. He is assigned job. He is like, what is that? He is teaching people. He is teaching the younger generation, and he's writing propaganda. He was working in the education department. His job is, to a lot of people, it might be like the perfect happiness, but however to him he's not happy. It's because that the fourth world, they are ruling happiness as, everyone happiness is the same. But it's not the truth. Everyone happiness is different. So that's why I feel like the dictatorship in the fourth world doesn't really work there, because there's not really happiness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you mention about dictatorships, I think about the baby condition. Under morality perspective, conditioned babies with electric shocks is unacceptable for us to see and to understand, to views that babies are too young to be conditioned under that circumstance, under the environment of like electric shocks. It's unacceptable for us. But in their world, they don't think that. And the point is they don't have religions. They don't have anything to believe in. And you can mention fourth is basically their own religions,
Yes. So do you think that despite everything, like not really moralities, do you think that world stability is something that is worth sacrificing for?
So we have to consider about how our societies consider our stabilities for our societies. Under my perspective, is we want to have a sustainable economic growth. People are happy with no poverty, clean waters, everything is stable, right? But I think under religion, spirituality's perspective, a world without religions, they don't have a fear of death in the world states. They don't have that fear of uncertainty for the futures. They don't believe in the afterlife, which means when they facing death, they don't have the emotion of fear. I think that's the good point where as human, we do a lot of things, we avoid a lot of things to be in our comfort zones, to be that comfort and safe where we don't risk our lives, so we don't step out that comfort zone to try or to do it. We avoid a lot of things though. People are like passive about things when it comes to religions and the definition of death.
I see.
Exactly.
So you think it's not a good thing that we're having that?
So I think social stabilities in the Brave New World are good and worth to sacrifice a lot of stuff to achieve that goals. Yeah.
I think that like social stability in our world, actually it's kind of like we're building towards that though.
We're working towards it, yeah?
Yes. So technically we do have some sort of social stability because what is that? At least now we have equality for all races more.
Not really. Really.
Yeah, because I'm trying to introduce some real world example because we need that and we are
keep going.
Yeah, so yeah, because you remember back then when black people was like discriminated. So
they are still get discrimination right now, and the racisms are still in our societies right now. Yeah.
But I'd say that back then it was more extreme. But
it's more extreme.
Our world has this one thing that we can push for social changes. That is like we have the right to stand up and speak up and to do something about it. Because in fourth world, if you're there having any like thought that is against their social stability, you are immediately shut down or expelled, like Bernard.
Yeah.
But however, in our world, at least we have the power to stand up. Because you remember the Montgomery bus boycott in 1965. So,
the bus.
Yes.
Right?
So a lot of Black American people were not using the bus.
So they boycotted.
Yes, they boycotted, and 1 year later they actually succeeded, and because the Supreme Court ruled that racial segregation for bus transit is unconstitutional.
Exactly.
So they actually won the right for their people to use,
public transportation. Yeah.
Yes. So I feel like now that's also one
thing
social stability, because as you said that social stability includes for our world, it includes equality for all races, right? Equality, right? So I feel like not only our world is that we don't really reach a perfect social stability, but we are having the rights to build towards it.
Yeah, we're working on it.
We're working on it. So I feel like our world is still better. Our stability is still better than theirs because we have the right to progress it, because
we're under process to towards that goals.
Yeah, because the fourth state, their social stability only stay there, but our social stability can progress, so that maybe one day we can even reach a higher type
definitions
of
stabilities.
Yeah.
For our podcast, thank you for joining us today, and we see you later.
Bye.
Thank you.